Okay, I'm going to jump back in then with our second session. Just a reminder again, your key to success is to do as many questions as you are able. So up here on your screen now is again just that list of questions from Learning Unit 3 that you can do as part of your revision. In your textbook, there's also that question bank. I'm sure you all know that. I think it's Learning Unit number 7. In your textbook, that's another question bank. So there's also some more revision questions that you can do. Send me a quick thumbs up just to let me know you can hear me. I'd hate to be talking to myself here. So, great. Thanks. Okay, let's move on then. Thanks, everyone. Welcome back. Okay, so as we said in this Learning Unit 3 then, yes, you have to know how to reconcile your creditors, but there's also a second part in this learning unit, and that's the so-called general ledger reconciliation. So there's two different things that you need to be able to do out of Learning Unit number 3. And the questions that specifically deals with the general ledger reconciliation statement, that's questions 3.6 and 3.8 in your textbook. And then there's also example 3.2. So for this one, you'll definitely want to also practice the example because there's only 2 textbook questions that you can practice on this particular topic. So we can ask this topic in one of 2 ways. We can either ask you a full long question like question 3.6 and 3.8, or we can ask it as a sort of a shorter type question. And I wanted to just begin by showing you the kind of a shorter type question so that you'll also just be aware that there's different ways in which we can test you on this section. And that's also why it's key that you must do as many questions as you can so that you can see all the different ways that we can word the question, but ultimately we're still testing you on the same knowledge. Okay, so in this one, and it's again from that 2023 past paper from book 5112, and maybe if you just joined us maybe if you've just joined us a little bit late, if you're looking for past papers that cover similar material as your module, please go and look at the book 5112 past papers. That module uses your same textbook, so that will give you just some idea of how we can test you on this Learning Units 3 and 4. So in this paper then, we gave the students this entry and we asked them how should this entry have been recorded. So this is something like we would have asked you in a question for your general ledger reconciliation, but here we just give you the incorrect entry and we ask you what would have been the correct entry. And remember earlier again, we said you must make sure you really read your questions with care so that you pick up on every little bit of detail that we give you in a question like this. So the first thing is you will see the question said we bought stationery, but we recorded it in the equipment account. So the first correction we obviously have to make is we have to debit stationery. The second thing is they said we bought the stationery on credit, but we recorded it in the bank account. So that would then be your next correction to obviously record it in the creditors control. And then the last thing is we see the amount included VAT and that all parties were VAT vendors. And remember earlier we said for Learning Unit 3, you must remember your VAT again. In this Learning Unit, VAT is important again. And if you've forgotten your VAT calculations, you might have to quickly just look back at your first semester textbook, that Learning Unit number 3 in first semester, how to do your VAT calculations. So then the correct entry is then going to be like this one here at the bottom. So this is just to show you another way in which we can structure a question on the general ledger reconciliation statement. The more common question, though, is like the one I'm going to show you now. And this is more like the ones in your textbook examples and in your textbook questions. We begin the question by giving you a so-called incorrect trial balance. And how do we know it's incorrect? When we look here at our total debits and total credits, we can see that they're not the same. So immediately we know that there must have been some errors that were made when we either posted to the general ledger or when we recorded it in the general ledger, and that is now why our debits and our credits are not equal. Then in these types of questions, we'll again give you a list of information. And so these 5 points now tell us what corrections do we have to make sure that our debits and credits are actually equal. So this is kind of similar to our creditors reconciliation, in that you will have to carefully read through these extra points. And you will have to see from each of the wordings that we've used, you would have to determine, okay, where was the mistake made and what is the correction that I still have to do. And in this question, just to note, this particular question is making use of the periodic inventory system. And you will see that is important again when we make some of our corrections. So please, in your Learning Unit 3 questions, make sure that you always check the inventory system and that you check for possible VAT calculations. Okay, I'm going to go through this question fairly quickly. I think what would work better is if after our recording, you actually come back here to the question. Here on this slide is the full trial balance and all of the corrections. This is not sort of the kind of question that we can kind of just run through quickly in the online space. This is a question that you would need to sit with quietly at home and try and see if you can make all of these corrections. And then once you've had the chance to make the corrections, you can come back to my recordings and you can come and double check them. But I am just going to talk you through them so you just kind of have an idea of what we are looking for. So as you can see then, we've now expanded our page here. So we still have our incorrect trial balance numbers. So if we give you a workbook in the test or in the exam, this is what your workbook page will look like. We will give you the incorrect trial balance. Then we will give you spaces here to make your corrections. And then lastly, we will give you space to now prepare your correct trial balance. So the first error then that was made, there was some repairs to the office printer, but it was recorded in the office equipment account. They tell us that VAT was treated correctly, so we don't need to do anything with VAT. And so what we need to do is we need to remove it from office equipment, and we need to go and add it into our office repairs. Okay, so that is your first entry. And with these entries now, you have to remember your debit and your credit. So you have to use, and I think I've got the slide here. Let me just see if I have it here. Yes, you've got to make sure that you're using your debt click so that you know that for assets, expenses, and drawings, if I want to increase these accounts, I must debit the account. If I want to decrease an asset, an expense, or drawings, then I have to credit the account. And for a liability, income, and capital, those increase in the credit column and the decreases are in the debit column. So I'm sure your lecturer showed you this dead click rule in first semester. And you need to now apply it again when we do these types of reconciliation questions. Because when you do your correction, you can see some of my corrections are in the credit column and some of them are in the debit column. So I have to remember that for capital, credit means plus. But for something like office equipment, which is an asset, credit means minus. Okay, so you have to make sure that you know your dead click rule so that you will know, okay, do I need to make the correction in the debit column or in the credit column? And what does the debit and the credit mean for that type of account? So we're going to make all of our different corrections. And as I said, I would recommend you first try this question at home. Then you come back to my slides and come and double check that you've got all of your corrections. Then, once we've made all of our corrections, then we're ready to prepare the final trial balance. How do I prepare the final trial balance? I start with the incorrect trial balance number, and then I either add or subtract the correction, and that then gives me the new correct balances. If, let's look, for example, debtors control. Debtors control didn't have any correction, so I can just use the 35,000 as is in the correct trial balance. Okay, so if there's no corrections, then you just use the same number. Otherwise, you will have to start with the incorrect number, add or subtract the correction to get to your correct trial balance. And then, of course, my big test, how do I know if I've done it all correct? I'm going to add up my debits, I'm going to add up my credits, and then if these two totals here at the bottom are the same, then you will know, oh yes, I have made all the corrections that I should have made. Okay. Again, for these questions, you have to remember they can have VAT implications. And in these types of questions, you'll see we often use something called the VAT control account. And the VAT control account is just a combination of both your output and input VAT. So instead of having an output VAT account and an input VAT account on the trial balance, we just combine them together into the VAT control account. So any transaction that has a VAT impact, you are just going to make the corrections against the VAT control account. Then remember, for these corrections, you're going to use your dead click rules to determine whether you're going to add or subtract. And does that then mean debit or does it mean credit for this account? Again, please, students, you're going to show us your workings. So any workings that you had to make to arrive at these numbers, you're going to remember to show that to us. And then to do your correct trial balance, you start with your incorrect trial balance and you add or subtract the corrections, and that gives you the correct trial balance. As I said earlier, let me just jump back there. There's two questions in your textbook on these kinds of exercises as well. Oh, sorry, let me just get back there. As well as an example. So please revise these questions and examples on this topic. Evidence, how is it going out there with our students? Anything we need to circle back to or anything that you want to add for us?
We don't have anything to circle back on, but then I would like to just remind them of bank. Students, please remember that bank can sometimes be an overdraft. And if your bank is an overdraft, that means in your incorrect trial balance, the amount would be under the credit column. Therefore, if you have anything that is a payment maybe that has not been recorded, that payment will then further increase your overdraft. But if we have money coming in, it will either bring your bank account to be a positive or decrease your overdraft to a smaller amount. So just remember that if bank is under the credit, that means you are actually starting with a minus. Therefore, if you have a correction under the minus, then your minus is increasing. But if you have a correction under the debit, then that means either your minus will become smaller or your balance will then actually become a positive. Yeah, that's just what I had to add. Thank you.
Oh, excellent. Thanks, yes. Thanks for reminding our students of that, that bank is unique, that it can have a debit or a credit balance. Okay, students, that's all I wanted to share with you on learning unit number 3. Just send us a quick emoji to let us know you're keeping up with us and you're on top of learning unit 3. And then I'm just going to swap over my slides to my learning unit 4 slides. Okay, students, we're going to jump in now and continue. Let me just make sure. I just double check that my microphone is on. Okay, so we are now busy with a learning unit 4. So remember again that this semester test coming up is going to cover learning units 3 and 4. So now we're going to dedicate our next session to looking at learning unit number 4. For those maybe who've joined us late, yes, our session is being recorded. And you can check in later with your lecturer to find out where you can find the link to these recordings. As you know, Evidence is with her fingers on the keyboard, ready there to assist you with your questions. She's from RC Pretoria, so if you are from RC Pretoria, quickly send Evidence lots and lots of love. And then I'm your presenter, Ina Frost, and I'm from the IIE. Okay, so remember earlier we spoke a little bit about this and we said your success in this upcoming assessment, it really consists of two things. One is about preparation, and that's why we have days like today, just to make sure you are well prepared for the assessment. But the other side is also about your exam techniques and things that you can do during the test that will also make you, will strengthen you and give you a better chance at success. So you'll remember in our first session, we already talked about managing your time. We talked about reading your required carefully and showing us all of your workings. So we're going to just talk again about these exam techniques and things that you can do in the assessment to make sure that you're going to come out on top in this module. I just always have to add in this little reminder. Remember, days like today cannot replace your time with your lecturer in class. It's not intended to replace your textbook or any other resources that's been shared on ARC or anything like this. Days like today and these kind of sessions are just like the cherry on the cake. They're just the sort of a little bit extra help to get ready for the test. Okay, so again, if we go to our module outline, and we look at the outcomes for learning unit 4. Remember that module outline you can find under the student material tile. And it just tells us again, what can we test you on in learning unit 4. And you'll remember even in learning unit 3, we said it's important that you must know your theory. And we can and will test you on theory. So again, in learning unit 4, don't neglect your theory when you prepare for learning unit number 4. Okay, let's jump in. So way back from the first semester, we have been showing you the bookkeeping cycle. So from the first semester, we've been telling you that a transaction takes place. We're going to record it in the journals. We're going to summarize it into the ledger, and we're going to do a trial balance. And that's our bookkeeping cycle, and we're going to repeat this cycle 12 times. Now we've done the cycle 12 times, and we've now prepared the final trial balance for month number 12. And now we're ready to jump in with our so-called year-end procedures. And that's now where learning unit 4 in your textbook fits in. So learning unit 4 now is at the end of the financial year. 12 times you've recorded all your transactions, and you're now busy with that 12th and final trial balance. What does the year-end procedures involve, or what is the purpose of year-end procedures? The purpose are twofold. One is to calculate the financial performance of the business, and the other one is to calculate the financial position of the business. Financial position consists of the assets, owner's equity, and liabilities of the business, and it is essentially your accounting equation. Financial performance, on the other hand, is calculated in two stages. In the first stage, we're going to calculate the gross profit. The gross profit gets calculated in a brand new account, and this account's name is the trading account. And we use our sales returns, and cost of sales to calculate our gross profit. In the second stage, we're going to calculate the net profit or loss of the business. That will be done in your next brand new account, and that brand new account's name is the profit and loss account. And in this account, we are going to record all of the income and all of the expenses of the business. Now, again, I'm just going to show you from the book 5112 past papers, types of learning unit 4 questions. And here again, you can see in 2023, we actually asked a theory question to the students, and we asked them to name the two purposes of running a financial year. So essentially, we asked them that they had to write it's about financial performance and financial position. This is in your textbook. It's not anything new that I'm covering here. So this is on pages 91 and 92 of your textbook. So everything that's on my slide that's on the screen now, you can find on page 92 in your textbook. Okay, so yes, you're going to know your theory. So when we ask you a theory question, you'll have no problem with that. But let's now go over to look at a more of an application style question. So for a typical learning unit 4 question, we are going to give you a trial balance. And so in this past paper question, again, we provided the students with a trial balance. And remember now, this trial balance is now trial balance number 12. So this is now the trial balance right at the end of the financial year. Together with the trial balance then, we are, let me just get, oh yes, okay, so just to give us our tips and tricks again, remember you're going to check the marks allocated to the question. So for example, this question carried 30 marks. So how long am I allowed to spend on this question? I am allowed to spend a maximum of 36 minutes. Okay, so please make sure that for each question you check how long am I allowed to spend on the question. And remember again, if you overrun your time, then it's going to impact your later questions. Then you're either going to have to leave them out or rush them, and that's not good. Then you can't optimize your marks. And if you like my little joke here, please, you are welcome to share a little smiley face just so that I know you're still out there and you're still doing well. Okay, right, so let's see now, what did they want the student to do with this trial balance? The first thing they asked the student was to prepare the sales account in the general ledger, and that was for 6 marks. So let's go to our general ledger, and we're going to prepare the sales account. So we're going to come to our trial balance. We're going to look for sales in our trial balance. And there's our sales number. So we are going to start that as our opening balance in our sales account. Because remember, in your general ledger, we always need to start with an opening balance. Then we know that we have to go to our sales returns and we have to subtract our sales returns from our sales. So again, I'm going to come to my trial balance. I'm going to look for sales returns and I'm going to subtract it from my sales. And then if I subtract my sales returns from my sales, the difference between those two amounts, we are going to take that to our trading account. Okay, so we're now busy with our year-end procedures and we're now starting to close off our income and expense accounts against the trading account and the profit and loss account. So I'm closing off sales against the trading account. And now, if we did ask you to do sales returns as well, you'll see there's the sales returns, there's the opening balance, 18,000, and I take the 18,000 to my sales account. So now, after these first steps, both my sales and sales returns accounts will now have a zero balance. Okay, because remember, with our year-end procedures, our whole aim is to get all your nominal accounts, so all your income and expense accounts, to have a zero balance. And that is why we close off each of our income and expense accounts to either the trading account or the profit and loss account. Okay, so that was question number 1 for 6 marks, prepare a sales account. Question number 2, now they want us to do the trading account, and that's now for 7 marks. So what did we say? What goes into the trading account? Sales, sales returns, and cost of sales. And we're going to use that to calculate the gross profit. Okay, so it's sales, sales returns, cost of sales. Okay, so let's go and prepare our trading account then. So we're going to put in the sales, sales returns, and cost of sales. And the difference between your sales and cost of sales, that's your gross profit. And this gross profit gets taken to the profit and loss account. And where did we get that sales number again? Remember, that's that sales number we've just calculated. And it is sales minus sales returns. Okay, so always remember the sales number you're going to use in your trading account is sales minus sales returns. And the difference between sales and cost of sales, the name that we give for it is gross profit. And this gross profit goes to the profit and loss account. And I'm just in the blue block, just showing you again how did I calculate it. So it was sales minus cost of sales. And just remember, it was sales minus sales returns. Okay, so this gross profit then, we put it in our profit and loss account. And now we're ready to do the next question. So sometimes in an assessment, we can either say to you, prepare the trading account like we did in this assessment, or we can rather say calculate the gross profit. You need the same figures for it, but in one, we want you to do the general ledger account. So in the one, we want you to prepare your general ledger account. Or in the other way we can ask it, we're just asking it as a calculation. And we say calculate gross profit. And if we ask you to do a calculation, then of course you're just going to show us sales minus sales returns minus cost of sales, and that is your gross profit. And if you do any kind of calculation, remember, you're definitely showing us your workings. Okay? Any calculations in an accounting paper, whether it's now test 2 or the exam, please, students, workings. So in this question, they asked us to do the general ledger accounts. But remember, for this learning unit, you must be able to do the general ledger accounts or the general journal entries. Okay, so we can either ask you to do the general ledger accounts, or we can ask the same entries, but in the form of general journal entries. So if you need to revise the general journal entries, then there's questions 4.2 and 4.4 of your textbook, and they will show you the general journal entries for a question like this. Evidence, how are we doing at the moment? Anything you want to add in for our students?
No, I don't think I have anything to add at the moment. And there are no questions or clarity required.
Okay, great. Okay, so we've done the sales account, we've done the trading account, and now the next thing they want us to do is the profit and loss account. And you can see that one has been allocated quite a few marks. That's 17 marks. So remember now, into your profit and loss account, we start with the gross profit. So we're going to start with our answer from 3.2. We're going to add the other income accounts, and we're going to subtract our other expenses. Where do I find the income and expense accounts again? Remember, we're working with the nominal accounts section of your trial balance. That's where we list all the income and expenses, but we're looking specifically now for other income and other expenses. So there you can see we've got rent, salaries, rates and taxes, credit losses, office expenses, and sundry expenses. So everything in this red block, that's the accounts that we're now going to close off against the profit and loss account, so that all of our nominal account balances can be zero at the end of the year. And what is the accounting term for gross profit plus other income minus other expenses? Do you guys want to type it up for me quickly in the chats? Do you all know what is the accounting term for gross profit plus other income minus other expenses? What is the accounting term for that? Yeah, I see one student has typed it up for us. Let's see, what do the rest of you say? What do I calculate when I say gross profit plus other income minus other expenses? What is the accounting term for that? Okay, I see Katlego was spot on there in the chat. So I'm sending Katlego, I'm sending you a gold star. Well done. The accounting term for that is either the net profit or the net loss. Remember, if your expenses are bigger than your income, then it will be a net loss. Okay, so let's have a look at how we're going to put together this profit and loss account. So in the previous calculation, you'll remember we calculated the gross profit in the trading account. And we said that this gross profit, we're going to take to the profit and loss account. So that's where we're going to begin our profit and loss account, with the gross profit. Okay, so that's your first entry in your profit and loss account, your starting point, the gross profit. Now I'm going to go to my trial balance, nominal account section. I'm going to look for all the other income. And in this question, there's only one. It's your rental income. And also on the credit side of the profit and loss account, I'm going to add in all my other income. Once I've added in my other income, I'm going to come back to my nominal account section. I'm going to look now for my expenses, and all my expenses we're going to add in on the debit side of the profit and loss account. Okay, so we start with the gross profit, we add the other income, and we subtract our other expenses. And that then will give us, in this particular calculation, a net profit. So let's just recap. How did I calculate the net profit? I added the gross profit. I added to it the other income, and that gave me 349,020. Then I subtract all of these expenses, and then my balancing number is my net profit, 254,564. Remember, we're dealing with a sole trader, which means there's only one owner of the business, and this owner takes all the profits or all the losses in the business. So you can see the net profit is going to be taken to the capital account of the owner, because we only have one owner, and this owner gets to keep all the profits of the business. But if we made a loss, then the owner also has to absorb that loss. A reminder, how did we calculate, or how do we calculate the net profit? The net profit is your income minus your expenses. So again, we can word the question in different ways. We can either ask you for the general ledger account, like they did in this question, and then you're going to prepare an account that looks like this. We can ask you for the general journal entries for this account, or we can ask you to calculate the net profit. And if we say calculate the net profit, then we mean income minus expenses. And of course, if you're doing any kind of calculation, you are going to be sure to show us your workings. Okay, I can't overstress how important it is to show workings. So send me a quick thumbs up if you're going to be showing workings in the test. Okay, well done. Okay, please, students, I think Evidence, you will agree with me. That's probably the one thing that breaks the heart of a lecturer the most, is when we get students that don't show us workings and we can't understand how they got to the amount. Because then
That is very true, ma'am. It's very true. They must always show their workings. And actually, if you do have on Tuesday, there was this image that you showed on a slide. There was a slide that clearly showed like how one student gets 0 and the other one gets 4. If you do have that slide, I feel like it made the point very clear to the students, because when we say show workings, they don't necessarily see what we mean by that. So if you do have that slide, I would say just show them so that they can clearly see what we mean. Like, it's very important to always show calculations.
Unfortunately, it's not in this deck of slides, but if we have some time at the end, I can quickly pull up that slide for us from my other slideshow, because it can really make a huge difference in your marks, whether you do or don't show workings. But thanks, Evidence. I'll pull up that slide if we have some time at the end. Okay, so once you've now closed off all of your income and expense accounts against either the trading account or the profit and loss account, then what that means, it means that all of your nominal accounts will now have 0 balances. Because that's our whole purpose with our year end, is to get all of our all our income and expense accounts to have 0 balances. Because in our income and expense accounts, we only kind of total up income and expenses for the current year. So when we start recording our transactions for next year, we don't want included in our income and expense accounts balances from last year. So that's why we have to make all of these account balances 0 so that we can start afresh in the next financial year. And the way we get all these balances to 0 is to close them off against either the trading account or against the profit and loss account. Remember, against the trading account is your sales returns and cost of sales, and against the profit and loss account is your other income and other expenses. Evidence, anything from your side that you want to add for the students at this point, or anything in the chats that we just need to have a look at?
No, there's nothing in the chats, and no, I don't think I have anything to add. You've covered everything.
Okay, so in this past paper question then, they only asked the student to do sales, trading account, and profit and loss account. But in these Learning Unit 4 type questions, we can also ask you to prepare the capital account. So I just want to also just show you what else we could have asked you in a question like this. So the next thing we could ask you is to prepare the capital account. And remember, the capital account is the account that has to do with the owner. And in this account, when we say prepare the capital account, we're going to have the capital, so the balance here in the trial balance. We're going to subtract the drawings, so the money the owner has taken out of the business. And then remember, we said the owner gets to keep the profit. So if we say to you, prepare the capital account, what we want to see in it is the capital, the drawings, and the profit. So let's go and have a look and see what this account will look like. So this is that profit and loss account that we've just prepared. And remember, when we calculated our net profit, we said the net profit is going to go to the owner, and we're going to put it in the owner's capital account. So there is the capital account now. So you can see I always start with my opening balance. Where did I find the opening balance? I found it on the trial balance next to capital. I subtract the drawings, so the money the owner has taken out of the business. And there you can see it on the debit side. And then the owner gets to keep all of the profits we've made during the year, and we add that for the owner to the capital account. So it's your capital from your trial balance, your drawings, and then the profit. And that then gives you the new capital account balance for this owner in this business. And don't forget to balance your accounts nicely. So that means you must show us balance carried down and balance brought down. Because that we need to see both of these balances if your question says balance the account properly. Now, the last thing that we can ask you in a question like this is to prepare the so-called post-closing trial balance. Okay, so that is now different from this trial balance. In this trial balance, this was now the one after we've done it 12 times. And this has got all your assets, all your liabilities, all your income, all your expenses. But what we can still ask you to do is to do the so-called post-closing trial balance. In this trial balance, there's only assets, liabilities, and capital. Because remember now, at this point, all your nominal account balances are now zero. So your nominal accounts have now actually all disappeared. So all that is left is this top half. So all that's left now is assets, liabilities, and capital. And for capital, we're now going to use that new balance. So we are going to go back here, and we're going to use that brand new balance, that 300,448. That is now going to be your new capital balance. So you're not going to use the 74,000. You're going to use the new one that you've just calculated. So let's look at that trial balance then. So we begin with our brand new capital balance. And remember, that's the one from the capital account. So that's the one where we subtract the drawings and we add the profits. And then we're going to just copy over all of the assets and all of the liabilities. So there's all of the assets, and those are just exactly, you'll see exactly the same amounts that is already in the trial balance, and all the liabilities. And then when we've done that, our assets, our total debits will equal our total credits, and that's how you will once again know you have done it all perfectly. So it's only the capital account where you'll use the new balance. For your assets and liabilities, you'll use the numbers given to you on the trial balance. And remember, at this point, all your nominal account balances are now 0. So that's why I'm not having any nominal account balances in this trial balance, because they're all 0, 0, 0, 0. And this is what we call a post-closing trial balance. So that's all the kinds of questions that we can ask you out of this learning unit number 4. Anything from your end, Evidence? Anything you still want to add for our students?
I would say maybe they also need to remember the differences between a trial balance and a general journal. As much as they both have a big column and 2 small columns, they are not the same thing. With a general journal, we always have an account debited with an account credited, and our debits and credit must be equal. And then with a trial balance, we are simply listing our accounts with their balances. And then we have a statement of financial position section and a nominal account section. We do not have a nominal, only in the post-closing trial balance. I think that is all that I have to add.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I was trying, while you were explaining, I was quickly trying to look if I can find that slide with just to show them the importance of showing their calculations. Let's just, yeah, here it is. Okay, students, this was the slide we were talking about earlier. This is now for depreciation calculations, but it's just to illustrate to you the importance of showing workings. Here we have 2 students. We have a student A and a student B. You can see both students gave us exactly the same answer for a particular calculation, but both their answers were actually incorrect. Student A gave us no workings, no support, so student A gets 0. Student B has the same answer but showed us how they worked out the answer, and they just made one little mistake in their calculation. So student B actually can get 4 out of 6. So this is, I see some of you are sending me laughing faces. For lecturers, this is sad faces, because we so badly want our students to do well in assessment. Evidence, you will agree with me when I say that.
Yes, I do agree.
Yeah.
Because 4 marks is a lot. I mean, that's more than 50% of the mark. Student B is passing while student A is failing just because they did not show calculations.
Yeah, so from lecturers, we really want you to do so well, and we get so upset when we mark papers and then our students just didn't show us their workings, and then there's nothing your lecturer can do, because if that's all you gave, that's all your lecturer sees. Because remember again, when your lecturer is marking, you're not sitting next to them to say, oh, but you know how I got to that number. I did this and this and this and this. Remember, all your lecturers see is this number. So what can they do? They cannot give you any marks. So help your lecturer to give you as many marks as possible in your assessment. So please, students, I know it sounds like an old story, but please show us your workings. Okay, let's go back to our presentation now. Let me just see where we are now. There's just one short bit to summarize, and then we're gonna we'll wrap up for today. Sorry guys, I'm just struggling a bit to get my slide now to change. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. There we go. Okay, so then just to wrap up for today then, on Learning Unit 4, when you are posed a Learning Unit 4 question in your test and in your exam, remember they give us 8 steps in the textbook. And in my 2025 version of the textbook, it's pages 94 and 95. And they actually provide you with 8 steps that you should follow to complete a Learning Unit 4 question. And it just systematically tells you through all the different, or talks you through all the different transactions that you have to make sure that you record when you are faced with a Learning Unit 4 question. So whether it is to do it in the general ledger or in the general journal, just make sure that you have followed these 8 steps. So we always begin by closing off sales returns against sales. Then we take the new sales number to the trading account. We take the cost of sales to the trading account, and you calculate your gross profit. We take the gross profit to the profit and loss account together with the other income. We subtract the other expenses, and that gives you your net profit or loss. The net profit or loss goes to the capital account, and we close off drawings against the capital account. So I always recommend to my students to memorize these 8 steps, because then they are systematic when they answer a question like this, and they don't leave out any steps, because remember, steps equal marks. So if you start leaving out things, then of course you can't get all of the marks. So just let's recap in a different format. Hang on, I've gone too fast. So remember again, trading account is sales minus sales returns minus cost of sales, and that gives you gross profit. Gross profit goes to the profit and loss account, where we add the other income, we subtract the other expenses, and that gives you net profit or loss. And then for a sole trader, the net profit or loss then goes to the owner, so it goes straight into the capital account. Here is a summary of all the different types of questions and where you can revise them in your textbook. So those are all textbook questions. This last one, 7.5, is from the question bank as well. So there's also a question bank questions on this topic. So remember, today we didn't cover the general journal entries, but we can test you on the general journal as well. So please make sure you include questions 4.2 and 4.4 as a part of your revision. Evidence from your end, anything else you want to just tell our students on Learning Unit number 4?
No, I don't think I have any other thing to add. There weren't a lot of questions that got my brain working today. I'm a bit too relaxed.
Okay, then just our last a few reminders then from myself and Evidence. Remember, you'll have 60 minutes to complete your paper. It's for 50 marks, and make sure that, as I've shown you how to calculate how much marks can you spend per question, please don't overrun, particularly not on the earlier questions, because then that's going to impact you in your later questions in the paper. Please make sure you're reading your required with a lot of care so that you're not answering the wrong thing, and that you're giving us everything that we are asking you to do in the question. Here, our old favorite topic, show us workings. And please, in assessment, you're only allowed to use your pen. So please write only in pen in your answer booklet. Then thank you very much for everyone attending, and thank you very much, Evidence, for all of your support today. Guys, send us much love. Please send love to Evidence. She's been so busy today, and we also sending you love. We are rooting for you in this semester test. We know that you are well prepared. Please follow our exam tips and tricks so that you can optimize your marks in our upcoming assessment. Remember, we are going to be sharing I'll be sharing with Rosebank College the link to the recordings. So please check in, give me just a little bit of time. So check in a little bit later today with your lecturer on where you can find these recordings if you want to re-watch something. And please If you do have any further questions, please reach out to your lecturers. They will also be able to assist you if there's still maybe some things that you just need them to explain to you one more time. And then just the last reminder that today's session is never meant to replace your time in class or your own revision. So thanks once again, everyone, for spending this morning with myself and Evidence. We were so happy to have you in class with us, and we wish you well in your upcoming assessment.